Why did a kid from Brooklyn swinging around in Jordans become one of the most beloved superheroes of the decade, while the new Captain America couldn't even carry his own movie? Today on Heroscope, we're diving into why Miles Morales is soaring and Sam Wilson is still struggling to find liftoff. From groundbreaking animation to missed opportunities, let's break it all down. Now, you may be wondering, why would we even compare the two characters? Well, it's simple. Both Sam and Miles are doing pretty much the same thing, stepping into the shoes of a super well-known character that most people know as someone else, Steve Rogers and Peter Parker. But why exactly is it that Sam's movie flopped, while Miles Morales has managed to bag 2 movies, with a third on the way, as well as a game? Well, let me explain. The first big difference between the two is exactly how they took over the mantle of their heroes. While Steve Rogers retired, and Sam literally replaced him as Captain America, Miles Morales is Spider-Man, but he exists alongside Peter Parker, and is his own hero in his own right. This leads to the fans being able to love both the old school version in Peter Parker and Miles Morales as the new character, because it allows him to, instead of stepping into the shoes of an already established character, build his own version which has already made him a fan favorite. On the other hand, Sam Wilson has had a very different job. When Cap retired, he gave his shield to Sam, and he barely started off with a couple of problems. Firstly, Sam Wilson was already an established, accepted, and well-liked character as the Falcon, and him taking on a different character was already going to be a little tough to accept with most fans. However, the biggest issue is the fact that his character arc of accepting the role of Captain America was handled in a mediocre TV show, instead of on the big screen, which many people hadn't even really seen properly. Then, when his time finally came to shine as Captain America in an actual movie, people simply felt that it was rushed and that it came out of nowhere. This was partially also due to the fact that the first time they were established as characters in comic books were also quite different. Sam Wilson first appeared all the way back in 1969, and was immediately introduced as Captain America's sidekick and friend. The Falcon and he would only get the mantle of Captain America way later in 2014. On the other hand, Miles Morales appeared way later than Sam in 2011. However, he was immediately his own hero, having taken the mantle of Spider-Man from a Peter Parker who was thought to be unalive in his universe, and he even ended up joining the main universe, after the multiverse was destroyed. This means that Sam Wilson has, for a long time, been seen as a sidekick, and he would always have a tougher battle with being accepted as a different, already established hero, as opposed to Miles Morales who has always had his own thing going on. But how do their movies differ? It's simple. Into and Across the Spider-Verse are both deeply personal movies, focusing on Miles Morales himself, and his journey of accepting who he is, realizing what it means to be a hero, and the audience can connect to him. Miles doesn't just have the multiverse to deal with. He is constantly juggling school, friendships, family expectations, and there's just so much that the audience can relate to, especially young people. Whether it's him constantly being told what to do yet always finding the strength to rise above it and create his own path, or the pressure of living up to someone else's legacy and trying to find your place in a world that doesn't always accept you, Miles captures all of that wonderfully. He is not perfect, but he never stops trying, and that is exactly what makes him so universally loved. On the other hand, Captain America Brave New World really just feels like a story that Captain America got thrown into, without much focus on the character which the audience so desperately needed to be able to connect to him, whereas The Falcon and the Winter Soldier felt like the story of many different characters all at once, and as a result, there simply wasn't enough focus on Sam Wilson as a character and his growth as Captain America. Also, the Spider-Verse movies have a very distinct style, unlike anything that had been seen up to that point. Revolutionary animation that perfectly blended comic book paneling, graffiti art, and glitchy multiverse aesthetics, all together creating a world that is truly Miles Morales' own, which gave the movie an incredibly strong sense of identity. On top of that, there are very clear themes in the movie. Themes of identity, family, culture, and destiny are always present. And the Spider-Man Miles Morales game was really no different. You get to control Miles and navigate his growth, his powers, and personality. This in no way felt like playing with Peter Parker. It was distinctively different. Miles' own neighborhood, his own problems, his own villains. Now, let's take a look at Captain America Brave New World. We don't really need to look any further than checking out what exactly about this movie garnered the most hype amongst fans. Was it Captain America himself, and how Sam will manage to adequately accept the role his friend has given him? No. The single thing that gathered the most hype in this movie was Red Hulk, and that's exactly the biggest problem. There was immediately a drastic shift in attention. And instead of the attention being focused on Cap as the main character, much as Miles is definitely the main character in his story, a large part of the audience simply waited to see a completely different character on screen, putting Sam on the sidelines, yet again. Next, the movie really doesn't do anything in particular to set it apart from all the other MCU movies. It doesn't offer a new perspective on the character of Sam, it doesn't have many particularly interesting characters, and it certainly doesn't have the wonderful groundbreaking visual style that the Spider-Verse movies have. And that is exactly where the Spider-Verse movies succeed and the Captain America Brave New World movie doesn't. Brave New World simply lacks identity. The Spider-Verse movies really made Miles Morales, a relatively unknown character in the public eye, almost a household name. In fact, the movies and the character were so unique and well won that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse actually managed to bag a win at the 2019 Academy Awards for the Best Animated Film. Captain America, on the other hand, didn't do nearly as well in the box office, and most fans agreed that the movie was pretty much a different version of Captain America Winter Soldier. And what about the character of Sam Wilson? Well, most people really still view him as the Falcon, and he is still waiting for his breakout moment, where he will capture the hearts of fans and truly cement himself into the role of Captain America. But it is far from over. Sam Wilson as Captain America still has insane potential, and Marvel only needs to utilize it properly. What the character really needs is a personal story, which should allow Sam to be his own version of Captain America that is amazing in his own right, and that has the power to lead the Avengers forward. Because at the end of the day, it's really simple. Audiences don't just want new heroes in old suits and a mediocre story. They want new stories that are worth watching. And that's the key to making legacy heroes truly shine. Thanks for watching Heroscope. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments what you think Sam Wilson's future as Captain America will be like. Until next time, stay super.